great day, attractive thinker and visual encouragers out there. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. This is where we support new and aspiring entrepreneurs with mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance. Sometimes in life, attractive thinker, we desire many things. And we're not sure actually what we have to endure, what we have to experience in order to acquire the goal. And it doesn't necessarily have to be trauma or pain, it could be something that we didn't anticipate. I say that because you have dreams and you have goals. As entrepreneurs, we are creators. We get an idea and we create the idea. But I want you to understand something. Who you are now on this side of the idea and who you are on the other side of accomplishing the idea are two different people. You become a whole other person once you accomplish the goal. So I'm saying that to say this. Sometimes things aren't as they seem. Sometimes we desire a goal. We're not sure what actually it all entails. We're just looking at the goal. But we don't realize that once we accomplish the goal, we're stronger, we're more creative, we're more fulfilled, we have more meaning in our lives, we're richer, we have more joy. And I say that to say this. I personally didn't think that happiness was what I thought it was. I thought that happiness was something else. And we're going to talk about that today. Welcome, my co host, Tichet Bradshaw, to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it. We made it again and again. We get to do what we've never done, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be alive.
It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. And attractive thinkers, I know that you are excited. I'm excited to hear from you. Please leave a comment. I'm asking you to leave a comment because I know these messages are resonating with you, and we want to hear what's coming up for you and how you're applying what you're hearing and what result you're getting. How is it changing your experience? You always hear us talk about Beyond the Break, give yourself a fighting chance. This channel on YouTube is about supporting you in living life beyond a break, be it beyond a heartbreak or beyond a success. Because in between successes as entrepreneurs, how is life now? How do we manage life in between our goals, in between successes and accomplishments? I want you to understand that we've created a resource for you, and it's on Amazon, the Attractive Thinker Transformational Experience. I know that you have a copy, but for all of the attractive thinkers and visual encouragers who do not yet have a copy, you want to put your hands on this copy because it's a resource to help you in your blind spots. It's a resource to help you in between breaks, in between heartbreaks, and in between a break and a success, because sometimes you're not going to have the people in your life or an experience or something that you can hold on to. And for example, people go to church, but after church, you got to deal with life. So you can't take church with you. So what do you do in between church services? See, in between that break in services, see, we talking about beyond the break. This right here, this 726 page full color hardcover resource will give you, no matter what page you turn to. I always say that no matter what page you turn to, you're going to find something to address where you are, remove the blinders so that you can continue to create and accomplish your goals. Today's message is about your perception of the goal. You have a goal that you're working on, and in your mind, we all do it. In our mind, we're just thinking about the goal, accomplishing the goal. But you become, not only you become someone different in the process, but your journey takes you through different things, and you come out with resources and substance, and you come out with creativity. And I heard Whitney Houston sing the song, I didn't know my own strength. You come out with you come out discovering things about yourself that you did not know. So what if the goal isn't for the sake of the goal? It's about the goal is being used to pull out the great things about you, to reveal to you the great things about you. See, we talk about happiness. And me and Tachet talk about this, we've talked about it down through the years. And when we say just the word alone, just the sound of it, happiness, when we say happiness, we're automatically thinking something joyful, amazing, calming, peaceful, adventurous, exciting, something favorable, be whatever it might be, something that we like, something that's favorable to us. It's going to be suitable for us. It's going to be something that we like when we think about happiness. So we have a little twist on this today because sometimes happiness is not what it looks like. Sometimes happiness has more meat and bones to it. It has more meaning to it. It's a internal thing that so often goes unaddressed. Tishat, talk to us today about happiness and what we thought it was and what it really is.
Absolutely. We all had our own perception of what happiness is, like you just said, Dr. Tony, and we've all had the goal of reaching happiness. You ask people, what do you want in life? And they say, I just want to be happy. But
Mm,
when we say, I just want to be happy, we have to get in our mind, what does that look like for us, right? Because the happiness for me might not look like happiness for you. And then when we say, what does that mean to be happy? A lot of people, believe it or not, have a hard time saying what makes them happy without saying what makes them unhappy,
mm-hmm,
right? And so we have to break up the two, right? Because when we start talking about what we want, and every time we talk about what we want, what we don't want comes up, you have them kind of coming together, and so only one can be your focal point. But if every time you talk about what makes you happy and what you want, what you don't want and what doesn't make you happy come to the forefront, then you have what doesn't make you happy the focal point. But if you can talk about the things that make you happy, or the things that make you at peace, or the things that make you feel solidified, or make you feel alive, because a lot of people, they equate happiness with feeling alive, right? A lot of people don't know what really makes them happy. Some people think money will make them happy, and they think money will make them happy because they feel like if they had money, they wouldn't have the bills, because they assume that the bills is what's making them unhappy. And though they might not be happy with having all those bills, and yes, it might satisfy some of those bills, you still have to deal with you and your perception once the bills are still paid, right? You have to deal with who you are and what you think once the bills are still paid. And so when we think about happiness, it can be like a very fleeting feeling to some people, right? Where sometimes you might feel it, and then the next time it goes, and then you might feel it again, and it might go. And a lot of us, what we're trying to accomplish is a lifestyle of happiness, a lifestyle that supports the smile, a lifestyle that supports the energetic ability to have a high vibration majority of the time, right? Because allowing ourselves to believe that we're going to actually get to a life where there will be never any problems and everything is going to be like this, to me is an illusion, because we have to have it has to have contrast in order for you to recognize happening. So for instance, if you go through life and you believe that the whole time you're going to get like this, eventually you're going to get bored being like this. And after a while, it's going to hurt. So sometimes, in order for this to enhance, you're going to have situation that's going to cause you to be a little bit down, in order for you to acknowledge the bright or the light that you have in your life. Darkness also has to exist, right? There is a possibility to have both light and dark in your life and still have happiness when you have a solid, firm foundation of who you are, just a general base of who you are, and you have an idea of your purpose, you have an idea of your gifts, you have an idea of your why, you have an idea of your reasoning for everything, right? And so when we think of building a life of happiness, most people think externally. Most people say, okay, I have to have this house, this car, this job, this amount of money. I have to have this relationship, these amount of kids, this dog and a cat. I have to eat this food and go to this place and have these people acknowledge me. And I have to have this kind of power and this influence and this, that, and the other. And everybody, you might say even social media, having millions of followers and millions of likes makes you happy, right? But the thing is if you need external circumstances to define your happiness is not in a solid, firm foundation, right? Because your happiness should be developed despite what's going on externally. Your happiness should not be defined by the external situation and circumstances. And you might say, well, that's easy for you to say if you got it all together and your bills are paid and you have this, that, and the other. I'm saying this is something that I learned when I had nothing. When you take away everything from a person and you discover who you are despite not having anything, happiness, that's where you start to build it, because you start to build from the foundation of who you are, not what you have, not what you're going through, not what you bought, not, a lot of us, we are trying to build artificial happiness. We go out and we have money to have artificial happiness, to make us feel alive. We go and buy this car, we get excited about the car, we get bored with a car, and we get the new car. And then the cycle happens over and over again. So you have to keep buying cars in order for you to keep feeling that aliveness. It is possible to have a life where you can feel alive and nothing happened that day. It is
Mm-hmm.
possible to have a life where you feel alive just by waking up in the morning and being grateful that you have the ability to whatever for that day. You have the ability to create things you've never created. You have ability to do what you've never done before. You have the opportunity to turn your whole situation around, right? And sometimes we need hope in order to know that we do that. Dr. Toni, one of the things that a lot of us do is we think that the hope that we have is the happiness,
Mm.
right? We feel like once we have hope, we feel okay, there's an inkling of happy. The hope is to me like the road to happiness, right? It's like one of the streets, like if you get on, I-95 or whatever highway you have, right? When you get on that highway, hope is like that. You get on the highway, it's like the a fast track to um the destination that we want to call happiness, right? When you're not en route to happiness, a lot of times you are decreased in hope. You don't have a lot of hope when you're not in the on the road to happiness. And so you tend, when you lose hope, you tend to feel low vibrational, you tend to feel down, you tend to feel lost, you tend to feel some discomfort, right? And so with that, you try to reach for an inkling of hope, right? And when you get an inkling of hope, you think, "Oh, that's happiness. I just need to do that. That's it. That's all I want is this. All I want is money, and that's it." But that money is not the end result of your hope. That money was a vehicle that allowed you to build. So it's not the money that made you happy, it's the ability to do what you needed to do with it. It's your perception that gave you that increase of hope. For instance, I'll give an example. If if um if we knew each other, I'll use me and you, Dr. Toni. Dr. Toni, if I told you, hey, I have $4 million to give to you, it's in your name. Here's the check. I show you the check. I show you the account. I say this, you can cash this today. And let's say at the time, let's say you were struggling with bills at the time, right? And I say, here's $4 million. All I need you to do is come and get it, right? You will instantly pipe up. because of all these ideas will come rushing for what you want to do with those millions, right? You
Mhm.
would think of all the problems that's being solved. You would think of everything that you can apply it to, and all of these things, and you would instantly feel uplifted in your vibration, right? But here's the thing: nothing actually physically changed. All I did was call and give you a word.
Mm.
All I called to do is say, here, this is what I have for you. Your bills have not gotten paid yet. You haven't cashed the check yet. You haven't even made yourself over here. But on the road here, when you got en route to come here, your hope increased the closer you got to it, right? And so you had a vision in mind of what you wanted to do. It's the vision that made you happy, not the money. It's what it helped you to do. It's the hope that you have for it to do, not the actual thing. So a lot of us who think money makes us happy, we're not looking for the money to make us happy. We're looking for what the money can do that makes us happy. We're looking for the ease of bills
Mhm.
to make us happy. We're looking for the fact that we can go out and buy some clothing or whatever it is that you think is going to make you happy. You're looking for that to make you happy. But really, it's an increase in hope that made you happy. It's an increase in the ideas of what could be done, not the actual thing. So we have to get used to placing our happiness on our perception and on the internal values that we have versus the external values that we have. So, yes, money is not going to make you happy, but your perception, whether you have money or not, can make you happy. It is possible to reach happiness and still have everything going on in your face, life going on all around you. It is possible to still find happiness despite not having that one thing you think you need for you to be happy. You think you need a spouse to be happy, right? You think being in love and being romantic, having that person who loves you and adores you and cherishes you and all that stuff can make you happy. Now, don't get me wrong, you'll have some happy days, but anytime you place your happiness on anything outside of yourself, it is not sustainable. It is
Mhm.
temporary and artificial happiness. But yeah, so that person can come in and help you to enjoy life a little bit. That person can come in and distract you, which is what they do. That person becomes your focal point. Your focus of distraction is what that person becomes, right? And so when that person is distracting you from the problems you think you have, you get it confused with happiness. But when you are truly happy, you don't need a distraction. All you need to do is be. All you need is you. And then once you develop the happiness, that happiness ends up giving you strength to deal with life as it comes, right? Because life, like we said last week, life is going to happen regardless, whether good or bad. Life is going to happen. But happiness, when you have that happiness, it allows you a little more strength to deal with life and not have to have life to be perfect, set up a certain way in order for you to be happy. Regardless, you're going to be happy. You have to learn how to become the party all by yourself so that your happiness is not dependent on whether or not somebody does what they say they were going to do,
Mhm.
whether or not you have a home or not have a home, whether or not you can do this business or not do this business, work this job or not work this job, drive this car or not drive this car. You should be able to be a party all by yourself, and anything that comes along ends up being an additive. The money becomes something that's added to you. It does not make you or break you. It is not the party. It's the chips at the party. It is not the party. The car is not the party. You are the party. Your spirit is the party. Your perception is the party. The car is the hot dog at the party or the hamburger at the party. The house, that is the juice of the party. Or you know what I mean? You have all these different things that come in and add to the party, but it's not the party. The party started the moment you was like, hey, this party is on, it's lit. It don't matter what you have at that party to make it a party. The party is the attitude that you have or the value that you have in your perception within yourself. And so, regardless of what food is there or not, you can have a party with just beans. That's how much your happiness got to depend on the internal value of you. It should be sustainable whether you have hot dogs, hamburger, beans, or chips. You can have a party with just lollipops and Cocoa Puffs. I'm the party. I bring the party. You ever know somebody, as soon as they show up, the party becomes lit? They come in and their energy, it's their energy. They come in, hey, and all of a sudden the party lit, everybody's talking and dancing, and you like that person and brought the party with them.
Yes, they were the
They
part.
brought the energy. Happiness is the energy that we need to feel alive.
Yes.
That's what it is. It has nothing to do with external circumstances. I was trying to build happiness externally, and I kept reaching frustration over and over and over again. I had money. I had tons of money. I still wasn't happy. I was miserable. I was empty inside. All I had was money at the time. You know what I mean? I didn't have really true love for myself. I was miserable. I was depressed. You know, I've had good relationships. I've had all kinds of stuff. A lot of my dreams I have already done, or I have already touched or done or have lived. But I learned that those things were not the key to my happiness. The key to my happiness is what I think about myself, what I think about my life, what I think about my purpose, the energy that I allow in here, into the ability to thrive in any condition. That's where what I believe my happiness is from inside. But everybody is different. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Wow, Tishet. You got me taking notes, and I'm telling you, attractive thinkers, I know you already have your attractive thinker notebook handy and you're taking notes because we're dropping these gems today and you're gonna need them going forward in the rest of your week. Tishet, I want to start here because I'm just gonna feed off of what you were talking about. Um, what I want to say to the attractive thinkers and visual encouragers is that after this message, when someone asks you, are you happy, or uh, what would make you happy, I want you to consider this comment, and that is this: I'm no longer waiting on happiness or waiting to be happy. I've decided to be happy. Whether you have money or not, you can decide to be happy. Whether you're in the place or environment that you want to be in or not, you can make a decision right now wherever you are, whether you have shoes on your feet or not, whether the people around you support you or not, whether you feel like you're struggling to reach your goals or not, or whether you feel like time has passed you by or not. You can make a decision. See, a decision is something that people can't take away from you. The whole entire attractive thinker generation movement is about us discovering these internal incredible aspects of ourselves that we can utilize to make our lives complete and whole and fulfilled and give us that meaning and connection that we're looking for. We're talking about happiness today because happiness definitely isn't what I thought it was. When I looked up, while you were talking to Chet, when I looked up the word happiness, because you said we all have many perceptions of happiness. And when I looked it up, it says happiness is a state of being happy. That's not something external, that's internal. It's a state of being. It's who I be. I remember years ago when we were at an attractive thinker event, you asked me to share what is happiness? I think that was the question. It has something to do with happy. It was like, what is happiness? Or I don't think it was what makes you happy. I think you really wanted to know what happiness was.
Yes.
And I responded in a way that helped you to understand that happiness wasn't something based on what was going on around me, because in the beginning I thought, as on my entrepreneurial journey, even growing up as a young woman, I thought happiness was dependent upon my desires being fulfilled, or everything turning out favorable, based on what I wanted or how I wanted things to work out, or I thought happiness was based on happenings, what was
Mhm.
happening around me, or was what was happening in my life. But I've come to realize that happiness is simply a decision. It doesn't cost you anything to make a decision, so you don't need money to do this. Happiness is simply sitting with yourself and deciding who you want to be in the world going forward, how you want to show up in the world going forward, how you want to respond to life going forward. Yes, there are times in our lives where we don't show up the way we anticipate. We get triggered, we get disappointed, we get frustrated, we get caught on the blind side, and we respond. But that has nothing to do with the decision that you're making to be happy. See, when we get triggered and we get frustrated, we get distracted, and we respond in a way that is not favorable, we have to forgive ourselves. It's not so much about the other person and their perception of us, and all of that has its place. But I think, Tisha, the biggest step, the biggest um, form of reconciliation that we have to do in an experience like that is forgiving ourselves. Sometimes it's easier to forgive others than it is to forgive ourselves. Sometimes we're harder on ourselves than we are on others. So when we're talking about happiness, happiness is a decision. I brought all of that up to say this is not dependent upon whether you were triggered or not, because the attractive thinker experience that you have in your hand, the 726 page transformational experience that you can get on Amazon, if you don't have it, it will support you in snapping back from the trigger. It will support you in getting right back on the path after you've been triggered or disappointed or frustrated. Now, that's a tool and it's a skill that you have to develop over time, but you have access to that tool. I say that because, Tachet, people think that because they get triggered, or they get disappointed, or they come out the bag, or they're frustrated, or something happens that's not so favorable, that they can no longer be happy. You have to use your attractive thinker skills and tools, and work your way, work on you, and just like a screwdriver, if the screw is coming out of the wall, use your screwdriver. Now you need a tool to screw it back into the wall. So it's not going to just screw itself back into the wall. You have to do your work to get yourself back into your happy place. Now, this is all a journey and a process, because once you find yourself back in your happy place, now you have to maintain it, and now you understand the value of it. So now you're going to guard it. You're going to guard your happy place. That means if you know a certain environment, experience, person, place, or thing triggers you, frustrates you, disappoints you, and robs you of your energy and your happiness, it's your responsibility not to place yourself in an experience where you can be triggered. It's just like saying, every time I walk down this street, I fall into the hole. Well, why do you keep walking down this street? There are plenty of other options. You know, we're responsible. See, once you discover, after you hear this message, you're now responsible for your own happiness. Now, we heard that phrase, "Oh, I'm responsible for my own happiness," and we're thinking that means I'm responsible for making myself happy. No, not just that. Once you've discovered this message that happiness is a decision, happiness is something from the inside out, happiness is something that I've discovered in me, I found it in me, I found happiness in me. Now I have to guard it. Now that I found it, I have to guard it like a vault. You don't walk down the street and let people just start taking money out your pocket and taking your jewelry off, and they say, "Oh, I like them shoes, give me them too." You don't do that, because that's your personal property. Your happiness is your personal intangible property, and it is extremely valuable. And like Tashet talked about that contrast, and I'm going to mention that in a minute, because that stood out to me in a different way, hit me differently when I heard you say that. But now that you understand the value of happiness, you don't let anybody steal your happiness, because you know what it feels like not to be happy, and that's too expensive. It's too costly. Tashet, you said we need contrast in order to recognize, and you continued on, but that phrase stood out to me. We need contrast in order to recognize. When you said that, I heard it so differently. And I saw, because I get to see what you say. I see visions of what you're saying. And it's like 3D, and it helps me to understand when I'm coaching, when I'm speaking, when I'm listening to you, when I'm interviewing, whatever it is. I get to see what you're saying. And what I saw was, let's say contrast. Contrast is, for example, black or white. Contrast is I'm happy or sad. Contrast is love, or you're in a loving relationship or you're in a toxic relationship. Sometimes people learn what love is by being in a toxic relationship. So, in that sense, you needed the contrast in order to determine what you really wanted, in order to determine what you really deserved. Sometimes people don't know what they deserve. Sometimes people don't know what they like. So, contrast is valuable in that sense, whereas it's showing you what you don't want so that you can build a desire for what you do want. So, when we're talking about happiness, you really have to know what happiness is in order to desire it. And sometimes our situations and circumstances are so contrasting and so contrary to happiness because it's trying to get our attention. You hear people say your experiences are talking to you. And when I first heard that, I was like, okay, it's talking to me, trying to teach me a lesson. No, not just a lesson. It's trying to bring something to your attention so that you can focus more in that direction, not just a lesson. Life isn't just all about teaching us lessons or punishing us or reprimanding us for something. It's trying to show, like look over here a little bit, look in this direction, uh shift your focus over here. What do you see? It's not going to tell you everything because it already knows that you're all that you would ever need to be. You're powerful, you're smart. It knows that if you just look over there, you'll know what to do with what you see. So, happiness is something that you sit down and you decide. You look at your life and you see what's working and what's favorable, what's working in your favor and what's not so favorable, and you disconnect and unattach yourself from these things. And what I mean by that is you no longer depend on them for your happiness. When you detach from a person, place, or thing for your happiness, you take your power back. You empower yourself and you disempower the thing. It no longer has power over you. It can no longer dictate and tell you when to be happy and when not to be happy. Like from 2 to 3, this is the only time you get to be happy today. All the other hours of the day, you're on my time. You're not going to be happy today. You just get to do, you're not going to do what you love during these hours. You're just going to do what I want you to do. See, when you take that power back, even when you're doing something that's a part of reaching your goal, but it's not your gifted area or what you look forward to do, you can still be happy. You can still be happy because happiness was a decision. It wasn't based on what was going on. If you attach your happiness to what's going on in the world, can you imagine how many times it can fluctuate within a day? How many times your happiness meter can fluctuate within a day? That's a lot. And that's like giving a stranger, handing a stranger your baby and telling them and trusting that they're going to take care of it. You don't even know them. When you give your happiness over to things, you're trusting those things to make you happy like you would make you happy. Nobody knows what would make you happy like you. Nobody knows how you like it like you. Nobody knows the style, that you would make it like you. Tichet, you're the DIY queen. Nobody can make those creations that you made like you because they don't come from your state of being. Your experience is built into your state of being, your beliefs and how you feel, your desires, all of that is built into your state of being. And when you put your hands to something and you create it, all of your state of being is in that creation. So nobody can, make it like you can make it. So nobody can make you happy, attractive, think a lot. Notification, notice, wake up, message, what do they call it? Note to self.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody or nothing can make you happy. Only you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Only you can do that because you know yourself better than anyone. You know how you like things. You know how you want it turned to the side just a little bit. Nobody knows that but you. So now, as a result of this message, you've taken your power back. And right here in the middle of the message, before the message even ends, you've decided to be happy. It's empowering to know that you can decide to be happy, that you can be happy based on your decision and not an external circumstance. So your money may or may not have changed while you're listening to this message, but you can still be happy. Your situation or circumstance may or may not have changed while you're listening to this message, but you can still be happy. So, to share some other things that stood out to me while you were talking was that contrast that we need, it clarifies.
Yes.
It it clarifies your desires. It, you end up knowing exactly what you do and do not want,
Mm-hmm.
because as a coach, I ask my clients sometimes, well, what are your goals? What is it that you really want? And sometimes they get stuck in that question because they know a little bit about what they want, but they're not really sure about what that thing is that they really really want. To share, I think you mentioned it in this message or maybe in a prior conversation that we had. People are afraid to say what will make them happy, what they really want.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to dig into that area and find out, where's the fear? What are you afraid of about what you really want? What is it about what you really want that scares you or that causes you not to take action towards it? See, when you begin to undress that thing, and you get to the root and the core of it, you set yourself free in that area and you get closer to reaching your goal. Your momentum increases, your anticipation and excitement increases because you were willing to do the work to unravel what is making you afraid of being happy. Okay, so you decide to be happy. What's the worst that can happen? So you have to ask yourself these questions. Why am I afraid to be happy? What do I think is going to happen? And you know what, Tisha, once you make the decision to be happy, now you have to be around happy people because you can't be the only happy person in the circle. They're going to try and steal your happiness. They're going to, and it may not even be intentional. Every now and then, they're going to take parts and pieces of your happiness. And when you leave the experience, you're going to know that they were pulling on your happiness because your energy is going to shift.
Mm-hmm.
Your energy is going to tell you whether they were contributing to your happiness or depleting you of it. So see, being happy is a responsibility.
Yes.
You can't just walk around here, oh, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. Really? You don't think nobody's going to try to rob you of your happiness? You don't think life is going to try to knock on your door and try to take some of that happiness? You have to be diligent concerning your happiness. You have to be crystal clear and bold concerning your happiness and value it so much that you're willing to say no gracefully. You're willing to decline gracefully because saying yes is putting your happiness on the line. And your happiness is invaluable. You can't put a price tag on it. Tishet, you said if you need happiness from external things, it's not rooted foundationally. So, and when you said that, if it's not rooted, that means it can be taken away.
Mm-hmm.
if you're basing your happiness on external things, oh, I'm gonna be, I know I'm gonna be happy as soon as I move into this new house, or I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
be happy as soon as I buy this car. Girl, as soon as this money come in, I know I'm gonna be happy. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm gonna be happy as soon as I go shopping and get this outfit for this event, and then I'll be happy. I'll be satisfied then. Or I'll be happy as soon as I find my significant other, or as soon as I get married, or as soon as I get this divorce, or as soon as I graduate, or as soon as I finish paying off these bills, then I'm going to be happy. But that kind of happiness is not rooted, because remember what I said earlier. If your happiness is dependent upon external things and they can be taken away, where does that leave you? So now your happiness is fluctuating dependent upon happenings. And you're not in control of that. You're not in control of everything that you can encounter in the course of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So you're happy over here and you're not happy over there. And by 10 o'clock, you're happy. And then by 12 o'clock, you're not happy. And then by 2 o'clock, you're happy. And then by 2:30, you're not happy. And it's up and down all day. That's not happiness. That's happenings, but that's not happiness.
Mm-hmm.
So with you deciding to be happy, ooh, that's rooted. Nobody can take that away. Now you can flow through the waves of life in the course of your day and your happiness not be affected because you're in control of your happiness. Now, come what may, you're still going to be happy. You see how beautiful that is? It's a decision. Okay. So you decide to be happy. You say, okay, Dr. Toni, I hear what you're saying. You and Tichet really rocking this happiness thing. So how do I apply this? Because I have a day to finish. I have to go through the rest of my day and the rest of my week before we hear another episode of Beyond the Break. So how do I manage my happiness? How do I guard my happiness? How do I apply my happiness to the life that I'm currently living? So it starts with a decision. You make the decision to be happy and you go about your day. So something happens and you get triggered because you heard this message, not just heard it. You're taking notes. That's why your attractive thinker notes are so important, because you're going to need these. They reinforce the message. When you hear something, that's one level of the message getting in your spirit. But when you take notes, you're it's like a double, you're doubling the effect. It's getting deeper into your spirit. See, attractive thinker and visual encourager, when you do your work, you do this kind of work, even if you get triggered, it's not like before. Being triggered, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's something wrong with you being triggered. Oh, you shouldn't get triggered. You're going to get triggered. Oh, you shouldn't get frustrated. You need to think about the bright side. You're going to be frustrated and disappointed. Now, how you handle that and how you recover from that, that was a big one for me to shed. Because back in the day when I get triggered, I mean, I could go from Dr. Toni Hatton to the Incredible Hulk. I have things that, when you're a nice person, you're so helpful and you're always willing to lend a hand. If somebody is treating you a certain way for no reason, it can trigger you.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the recovery was worse than the actual trigger, because now you got to get your energy right. And like I said earlier, now you got to forgive yourself and others. Now you have to get back on the path. Now you have to steer your focus back towards your goal. Now you have to sit there with the shame, guilt, and regret. And you got to work through all of that. So this is why I say your happiness is an asset to you. It's valuable and you have to guard it no matter what, because the process of getting back to happy is too costly. It was too costly for me. I got sick and tired of sitting in the regret and the guilt. Like, man, I don't even know why I did that. I don't even know why I shouldn't have said anything. I should not have said anything. Maybe I should have just walked away because they weren't ready for my response. Maybe I should have just walked away. But see, there's some balance that goes into that, Tichet, because when you're addressed and you don't respond, you're denying yourself. That's self-denial. when you have something to say, you need to express yourself. See, just not saying anything, it doesn't mean you won. That's not winning the game because you walk away and don't say anything. You have a right to express yourself. You don't just keep taking things. And what I mean by, for example, somebody offer you the red outfit and you wanted the blue outfit, and you just take the red outfit because you don't want to make no waves. You can't do that. You're not fully expressing yourself.
Mm.
So who are you if you're not you? Who are you settling to be if you're not standing up for you, for who you really are? So, see, this comes with balance. And that's why I say I'm going to keep driving you to Amazon so you can get the attractive thinker transformation experience and get empowered with these tools so you can manage life while you're mastering you and your life experiences and reaching your goals. You don't just wake up like this overnight. You need tools, you need mental tools, because life is not going to stop happening just because you decided to get a life. It's not going to stop happening. And you can't be up and down with life. You're going to get nowhere fast. You can't be up and down with life. Oh, good
Mm-hmm.
things are happening. I'm so excited. Oh my God, I just got a phone call. Can you believe that? Oh, my husband just came in and bought me some beautiful da da da, and I'm so happy. Oh my God, the dog just pooped all over the floor. Can you believe that? You
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. Your energy is being affected, and it affects your creations and your creativity as an entrepreneur. It's like jacking your energy up, pulling your, pushing and pulling and yanking you all around. You'll be a mess. So you have to make the decision. Take your power back. Happiness not is not dependent on anything externally. Take all your power back. Pull your power back from the move, and pull your power back from the house, and pull your power back from the money and the people and the places and the things, and just decide. I decide to be happy, and that's who I am. I'm happy. I'm grateful. And I guarantee you, when you make the decision, all of a sudden, things are going to start coming into your experience in the forefront. They're already there, but if you're not happy, you're not going to see happy things.
Mm-mm.
As soon as you decide to be happy, now all of a sudden, the same situation is bringing to your experience the happy parts about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I am grateful I have food to eat. I am grateful that I'm healthy and I'm not eating with a feeding tube. Oh, I am grateful that even if I'm on a feeding tube, I'm still breathing. You see how that works?
Mm-hmm.
You see how that works? But you have to first decide. Tichet, it sounds like I touched on something when I said, uh, even though happy things are around you, you're not going to see happy things if you're not happy. Talk to us about that.
Mm-hmm. Because it becomes your focal point. When, like, if problems, like I said earlier, if problems are your focal point, you can be in a happy situation and still find something wrong with it.
Mm,
But one of the things that you went on is you were saying a couple of things about things robbing us of our happiness, right? There are certain things robbing us of our happiness. And before I touch on that, you was talking about the ups and downs, like you discussed the fight basically of being happy, how something happened and it was a good thing, and then something else happened, it was a bad thing. Just yo-yoing all day
yeah.
long, just inconsistency,
Mm,
unstable, and when you have those kinds of things, it's so easy to get tired because nothing is sustainable.
yeah.
Clarity, and we talked about this last week, clarity will allow a person to build happiness. Clarity, to
Mm,
me, is one of the bricks that helps to build happiness as a solid, firm foundation. Not straw, but we're not pulling at straws here. We are building brick by brick our happiness in our life that extends from that happiness, right? Our happiness is not because of life, our life is because of happiness, right? But there are
mm,
some things that we have discussed in this episode that may rob you of your happiness, and I wanted to point them out and go back and I wanted to reiterate some of those things,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
One of the things that can block you of your happiness. So you can have a decision to become happy, and you say, I heard this message. I'm making a decision right now. I want to be happy. And then you go on about your day with the decision to be happy. Something happens, and you say, okay, I'm I'm feeling sad. Something happened and it broke my heart. Right? The minute I decided to be happy, life happened and it broke my heart. In the midst of that broken heart, you have to remember your decision, right? And then not resent whatever just happened. So resentment is one of the things that can block you from happiness. Resenting situations that occur throughout your life while you're on the road to being happy. Once you make a decision to be happy, you don't turn that decision around because one thing happened,
Mhm.
because something broke your heart. That's like saying, I will never ride a horse again because you fell off. Get back on that horse. Get back on that bike. That bike is your decision to have a good, healthy, happy life, right? So no matter what happens, if you hit a rock and you should fall off your bike, you don't just sit there on the curb and resent the fact that you fell off your bike. You don't call yourself failure. You don't build your whole life around the rock that tripped you. You get back on that bike and try to avoid the next rock.
My God.
Because that tripping that happened will make you aware of, it will make you more aware that there are things in the road you have to pay attention to.
Yes.
And so when you come upon the next rock, you're more aware of, hey, there's stuff in the road, and you start maneuvering around issues that could rob you of your happiness. And so when we're resenting situations that happen, you're staying in that problem too long. You're staying in the misery, in the upsetness, in the heartbreak too long. A heartbreak can take a few minutes to happen, but we can have that heartbreak play over and over in our mind for years and years, and it can affect us for years if you let it. It takes a strong type of person to
Mhm.
let a heartbreak go and allow happiness to take its place. You have to have a strong mind in order for you to let go of something that could have tore you down. And you said, okay, I'm going to let go of the situation. I'm going to consider that all things happen for a reason. I'm going to consider that there's something that's coming out of this situation that happened. And I'm going to grab onto my happiness with the hope that something better is along the way. Even if that means you feel delusional, right? You say, I'm gonna have this vision, I'm gonna have be healthy and happy, and I'm gonna live this strong life, right? And somebody might look at you and say, because they don't believe, they'll say that's ridiculous, that's delusional. You have to be willing to feel delusional if that means you get to keep your hope to help you with your decision of being happy. So when we are around people, and we call them energy vampires, people that suck your energy
Mhm.
dry, right?
Yeah.
You decided to get happy, one phone call and that person is just upset about everything, drama, 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 always into something. You can make a decision to not participate in that. That's your decision. You don't have to participate in anything that
Mhm.
does not help you on your road. You have a right to be happy.
Mhm.
You have a right to your road of healthy life. You have a right to your road of a happy life, right?
Mhm.
You have a right to build a solid, firm foundation that allows you to maintain the strength so that everything don't that happens doesn't come in and knock you out. But you
Mhm.
have to make that decision. People are not going to make the decision for you. There's nobody out there that's going to make a decision for your happiness
Right.
but you.
Yeah.
So we have resentment, we have fear. Fear can get in the way and rob you of your happiness. You can be on the way to a happy situation. Let's take, for instance, you get a job, a six-figure job that's coming in, right? You've been working low income and now you got a job and it's six figures, right? It's a job you've always wanted, right? But then you start the more you start thinking about the first day, and the more you start thinking about what you don't know, and the more you focus on the things that has happened, the disappointments that you've had, the more you start thinking about those things, the more you become afraid of the first day on the job. And the more you become afraid of the first day on the job, you've already canceled out your happiness for that job. And
Mhm.
so you're afraid that you're not going to make it, or you're not going to be able to keep up with the blessing that you was just granted. Somebody can again come in and grant you $1 million. You start being afraid that everybody's out to rob you, or everybody's out to do something to you, and you start having to look over your shoulders a little bit more, and you feel less secure. You're robbing yourself of your happiness with the fear. Now we want to have common sense when approaching situations and things like that. We want to have apply common sense. Common sense is you protect your area, you be aware of your surroundings. But when you live in a constant state of fear, how are you going to be happy in a state of constant fear? If happiness is a being, how are you going to be happy if you are being fearful all the time? Another thing, guilt. When you feel guilted for stuff, right? That spirit of guilt, that was one of the things I had to break off. I was guilty for everything. Guilty to answer the phone, guilty to go to a job that I hated, guilty to be in a part of a relationship, guilty to go to this place and do this thing for everybody, guilty to have this type of career because this person didn't have it and they said it was best. You're guilted for a whole bunch of things. But here's what I'm telling you with guilt: you don't have to do nothing. You don't have to do nothing but be you. And from that, you build. You don't have to stay in a relationship. You don't have to stay in a miserable household. You don't have to stay at a miserable job. You don't have to do none of it. Literally, it's a choice, right? Because the moment you decide to choose to do anything else is the moment you give yourself the fighting chance to do something else, right? And so you take away the fear of the outcome of doing something else, and you allow yourself the ability to see that all things are possible, and you go ahead and try it. You'll see that you are stronger than you give yourself credit for. You can do more than you can give yourself credit for. But when you are guilted to stay in a place, you won't even give yourself a fighting chance because you feel like, oh, if I leave them, they'll just die. Or if I leave this job, then they won't have nobody, and then this gonna happen. And you start placing the blame on yourself for whatever falls. If something can fall because you withdrew from it, was it really strong in
Wow,
itself?
Tichet, say that again. Say that again.
If something falls
Mhm.
because you withdrew from it, was
Wow.
it really strong within itself?
Mm,
You're one person.
my God.
So the same thing for you. If you crash because one person withdrew from you, were you really strong? Were you really happy? Did you really have a solid foundation if one thing withdrew from you and all of a sudden you crash, and vice versa? If you withdrew from a person and their whole life crashed, then they needed to see that their happiness does not depend on you. Nobody happiness should depend on you but your own.
Mhm.
Their happiness should depend on them. Nobody's responsible for your happiness. We have to stop giving away our deed to happiness. We have to take ownership for ourselves. Nobody else is responsible for our happiness. Now, you might say, well, people come in and they do things, and I live with this person and they make me do like this. Because I used to think that I used to like, I live with this person and they're making me miserable. They're taking away from my happiness. And the question is, why was my happiness that open that that person could just take it away?
That's
Because they shouldn't be able to do nothing in me. So that means I had my happiness depending on the surroundings, and the way they interact with the surroundings affected my happiness.
yes.
So that was not a solid, firm foundation version of happiness. That was an artificial happiness. The
Mhm.
house was clean. I'm happy that my house clean. Yes. He come in, throw everything everywhere, and all of a sudden I'm angry because I need a house clean. That's external happiness. I'm happy whether my house is clean or not. That does not. Now, can I get irritated while being happy? You can be irritated that the house is not clean, but you be irritated to a certain extent. Not that it does not take away your overall happiness of life. Not that you're so miserable that you go in your room and sit and shut the door and cry because your home is a mess. right? And there's people that do that. I used to be one, until I discovered my state of happiness. Another thing is shame. You ever have somebody sit there and you could be in a good situation. You can have a new house and you're sitting in that new house on the couch thinking about all the shame you did before you got there. You rob yourself of your happiness. Happiness is now. It's being aware of your now and being grateful for your now. Building up gratitude for all the things that you went through and what you have now. When you look at your life and all you see is shame, you're only looking at half of your life. You're not looking at your life as a whole. Because your whole entire life, even that thing that embarrassed you, build you up for something, and you can't take away the process without taking away the reward, right? And so when you have both process and reward, you can't allow yourself to look at that process as shame and expect a reward of happiness.
Mm.
They have to go together, the process and the reward. So you look at, okay, I was in positions where I needed to be strong and now I have strength, as opposed to I was in position and it caused me, and I had a weak moment where I thought I was strong and then I was weak. And that's not the overall truth. It didn't kill you. You were strong.
Mm.
You made it through that to tell a story. You were strong.
Yes.
You might have thought you were having a weak moment. You were having an awareness moment. You was aware that something broke your heart. You was aware that something made you feel less. That doesn't mean you were weak, because you made it through it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you make it through anything, it takes strength to make it through anything. So we
Mm-hmm.
have resentment, we have fear, we have guilt, we have shame, and then we have judgment. You have to stop judging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Judgment will rob you of your happiness every single time. I don't care what, you can have your whole life set up. But the minute you judge your thoughts, the minute you judge your past, the minute you judge your relationship, the moment you judge whether something was successful or failure, when you are in judgment, it is robbing you of complete happiness. The way to be is to be happy in the now and to be in gratitude for the now. It does not matter what you did before this moment. You could have had the made the worst decisions up until this moment, made a complete mess up until this moment, right? We can't judge that because that was previously. This is now. So in the now is only possibilities. It's possibilities to fix or to renew or to build. It's a possibility for hope. In the now is gratitude that you have the ability to go after all possibilities, that you have the time and the breath to be able to pursue a thing and to build that happiness. All you have right now is opportunities, nothing else. So when you're judging your past, you're not aware of your opportunity. Your past is what got you to this opportunity. Everything led you up into this video. And this video is making you aware that you have the possibility to live the life you've always desired to live in full happiness, and then build your life based on that. You become aware of everything that increases your energy. You become aware of things that decreases your energy. You do more of the things that increases your energy, and you do less of the things that decreases your energy, right? And so you start little by little shifting and shaping your life. You get rid of fear a little bit at a time. You get rid of guilt, shame, and resentment a little bit at a time. These are not overnight processes.
Yes.
The decision is now,
Yes.
right? You make the decision, that's instant.
Mm-hmm.
But the process of that decision is not overnight. It takes work and consistency. You have to continuously decide over and
My
over
God.
and over and over
Mm-hmm.
again in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to see the process and the reward match.
Mm-hmm.
The reward of happiness has to match the process of happiness, what comes from a decision of being happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's regardless of what's going on. Dr. Tony, another thing you said was you talked about being able, you talked about expressing yourself, allowing yourself to express yourself. That's one of the things that happy people do. They feel free to express themselves. And if you're in any relationship, any job, any home, any environment, any situation that prevents you from the ability to express yourself freely, that is stumping your happiness,
Yeah.
right? To express yourself freely is a gift.
My God.
We cannot keep suppressing who we
Mm.
are to fit in anybody's equation.
Mm-hmm.
That's an instant block of your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You get an idea, it's flowing, you feel the energy, you get around some folk and you like, oh, well, they might not go for this. They might not, they ain't never had this, so they don't even want this. Or somebody make you feel bad for having. You go out and you get you something good and you feel excited and you go to the person and they make you feel bad for having. Like, what is that? This is some of the things you need to not be guilty in interacting with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to interact with energy vampires.
Mm-hmm.
You have to give yourself the permission to say no to whatever is draining your energy. I don't care how connected you were. I don't care what history you have. If it's draining your energy, let it go. Let it go. And here's the thing, with letting go, we have to trust that whatever it is we let go, whatever is for us will take its place.
Mm-hmm.
Because that thing that we let go was taking up space, was taking up good space for the things that we were supposed to have, right? And here's the thing, if something you let go you were supposed to have, it'll come back. Opportunities are always going to come back around and around, right? Um, we I don't necessarily believe in once in a lifetime, situations, once in a lifetime opportunities. I believe that any opportunity that is attached to you is going to come to you even if you missed it the first time. It's going to come back to you because it's assigned to you. It may show up in a different form or a different face, but it's the same opportunity. You have the opportunity to sing at a wedding, and this is good, right? Let's say something goes on and you missed that wedding because you had a previous engagement or whatever. Another wedding that might even be bigger may come up. Let's say you were in a job that you didn't like and you were afraid to step out of that job, and another job offered you the opportunity, but you didn't have the strength to leave, right? So that job got taken by somebody else and you like, man, I should have took it, I should have took it, I should have took it. No, keep your eyes open because that opportunity is going to present itself now that you have that awareness. When you develop the awareness of good is going to always come in because you make it your focal point. Whatever you focus on is going to grow. Wherever you focus on negativity, you're going to see negativity. So if you're a type of person that focus on whether it rains and pours, it's going to pour all the time. Get your umbrella. Matter of fact, don't even get your umbrella. Just accept being drenched. Because if your focal point is pouring, it's going to pour all the time. And you say, every time I think is something, it's always something. It's always something. It rains, it pours. That means if I had a bad day, it's the worst day of my life. Why does it have to be? Why not? Why does it have to be a bad day? Why not just be a bad decision? Why not just have a bad incident? Why not just have a bad moment, but then you make the next moment better? Some moments are harder to recover, yes, but the recovery is the possibility, and you have the decision to make that recovery. Not everybody wants to recover. Some people like to hold on to their misery. Some people are addicted to suffering, and that's their right. But you have a right to choose. You don't have to stay addicted to suffering. Um, Another thing I wanted to say, Dr. Toni, if we always have to wait until things line up, right? We always have to wait until our ducks are in a row in order for us to be happy. We'll never be happy because all ducks are not going to line up like that. Not all in a row, all at one time. Ducks, we have to we're building as we go, right? But not everything is always going to be perfect. Perfectionism is going to stand in your way every time. Everything is not going to always be perfect in order for you to be able to make a move. Sometimes you got to make a move despite things being perfect. The stuff will end up becoming perfect after you operate in the happiness. So you don't need things to be perfect to be happy. You need happy for things to be perfect. It lines up afterwards. So we're not waiting till all our ducks in a row to make a decision to be happy. You do not have to have everything in order for you to be happy. But if you make the decision to be happy and consistently stay on that path of being happy, everything will end up being perfect.
Mhm.
Right? And so another thing, Dr. Toni, we having that fear of heartbreak, right? When we have a fear of heartbreak, we tend to limit our buildup of hope, right? So you have the hope and you say, okay, I want to get happy. I mean, I want to be happy. And you have that hope of being happy, but then in the back of your mind, you like, okay, it's gonna pull the carpet from underneath me. As soon as I get happy, it's gonna pull the carpet from underneath me. So you try to prepare yourself for the carpet being pulled underneath you. So you end up trying to put that protection, that wall up in your heart, right? And that type of thing limits you from being able to go above a certain ceiling. You know what I mean? Because when we do happiness on a limit, we don't go too far because we don't want that big of a heartbreak. We feel like the bigger the vision, the bigger the heartbreak. So we protect ourselves so we don't have no hope because we don't want to get disappointed. That right there is limiting belief. You have to be willing to risk it all sometimes. No risk, no reward, right? You got to be willing to go out there and see it through. Can it be possible that when you go out there and you risk it all, risking getting your heart broken, risking being disappointment, that you might actually make it, that you
Mm,
might actually win? Could the heartbreak be for you to stay where you are?
mm,
That what's worse, either you staying where you are in the misery that you might be in, or you going out there and actually see whether you're made of it or not. You
mm.
will never know until you jump. You got to get out there and jump. You got to be willing to risk it all. This is why I say when you hit rock bottom and you have nothing else to lose, this is when your life turn around. This is when you're able to build in the happiness, when you have nothing else to lose, because you see that when all the smoke clears and the dust settles, you will still be standing. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Wow. This is so fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinker, visual encourager. I trust that you're taking this message to heart. And I celebrate you for embracing your happiness. It's yours. It's your happiness, and you deserve it. I wanted to, before we close out this message, Chet, I wanted to highlight some things that you talked about. But what stood out to me was this fear. And when I heard you talk about that, I thought about some fear based scenarios. I wanted to give us another name for fear so we can disempower it. Because just the name fear makes people afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It makes people run from it, go in another direction, push it away, shun it, or turn a deaf ear and don't want to hear the rest of what you're going to say because fear is involved. But if we disempower fear, take its power away, and view fear as just an illusion
Mm-hmm.
or not real. So when you say, I'm afraid to do this or I'm afraid to do that, what you're really saying is this thing that's not real is more louder in my life than the goal that I have. That makes fear lose its power, lose its grip a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you say, uh, my goal is to become an author or finish writing this book, but instead of me focus on my vision, the illusion seems bigger than the vision.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying the fear seems bigger, the illusion. See, when you give it another name, it loses its power. Now you're definitely not going to allow an illusion to stop you from creating your vision, because the word illusion in itself already lets you know that it's not real. It appears to be. So you're going to allow something that appears to be real to stop you from doing a real thing? You see how we can disempower these experiences by reframing them or creating another perception of them. So, anytime fear comes up for you, attractive thing, I want you to understand you're referencing an illusion. Because Tashet, you said sometimes when you get out there, you just recently said it. You said the real heartbreak is staying. The real heartbreak is not what you're going to experience when you get out there. So the illusion will keep you in the real heartbreak, which is staying. It'll keep you from the real joy, from fulfilling your goal. So have a different perspective of this thing called fear. Fear is not only, when I looked up the word fear, a distressing emotion. And what I want to say is that it's a distressing emotion aroused. And I paused right there because it said other things, but it was a complete sentence, but I paused in the middle. A distressing emotion aroused means brought up from inside of you, stirred up. Somebody aroused the fear inside of you, something aroused. It could have been a word, a thought that stirred fear up inside of you. So think about that. It doesn't come from anywhere. We already broke that down. Happiness doesn't come from external circumstances, and neither does fear. Neither does fear. You might say, well, Dr. Toni, I heard in the news this and that, and it made me afraid. No, your perception of what you heard made you afraid.
Absolutely.
Your perception of what you heard is what triggered and aroused fear in you.
Mm-hmm.
See how that's clarity? And it's helping you take your power back. It's disempowering the experience or what you heard. See, we're powerful beings, and you can. I hope you're seeing this, attractive thinker and visual encourager, that you can take your power back. Because throughout the years, we've given our power away to people, places, and things. And now it's time for you to take your power back because you need your power to accomplish your goals. So, fear, a distressing emotion aroused by what? Impending danger, evil, pain, etc. So, when I saw the word impending danger, I thought to myself, danger, evil, and pain anticipating. Just you anticipating or bracing yourself for pain opens you up to it. It opens your energy up to it. You're expecting it to be painful. Well, you're going to get what you expect because
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're focusing on. That's what you're opening up your energy to. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for it to be hard. So it's going to be hard because that's what you're looking for. But if you're looking for it to be joyful and easy, I say this a lot in my prayer requests and things that I speak over my life. When I request something, I say in a joyful, happy, easy way. Yes, let this and that and the other happen in a joyful, happy, easy way. Because I'm not expecting for me to get my heart's desire in a painful way.
Mm-hmm.
Where they do that in a painful way? So, uh, anticipated danger and evil and fear. Again, that's taking your power back because you don't have to anticipate the worst scenario, the worst case scenario. Now, the ending part of the definition of fear, it says whether the threat is real or imagined. You're going to experience these things whether the threat was real, whether the fear, whether the illusion was real or imagined. So you're going to be afraid of something that's not even real. So you have to break that fear down and de-dress, undress that fear until it loses its power in your life and you're able to move forward and accomplish your goals as an entrepreneur. Because what I've discovered, Tisha, is that fear isn't just scary. You don't just get scared based on fear. Fear is intimidating. It has a bullying effect.
Mm.
It's not just there to scare you. It's there to intimidate you, to bully you. It has like a taunting type behavior because fear is determined that you're not going to accomplish what you said you're going to do. You're not going to do anything new than what you've been doing. You're not going to come outside of this comfort zone and think you're going to create something. Fear has all kinds of tricks in its pocket, up its sleeve, so to speak, to keep you right where you are. But when you undress fear and understand it's just an illusion designed to keep you where you are, you're able to bulldoze your way through it. You're able to overcome it. You're able to face those wins and keep moving to the other side of that. Tisha, while you were talking, I was thinking, some of these, before I get to that, let me share these notes I wrote down, because I'm really trying to give attractive thinkers and visual encouragers a visual of what we're talking about. We got to make this practical so you know how to apply this to your current situation, to your current life. It's not just a message that you hear to make you feel good. These are practical tools that you can apply today, right now. So I say that because, people are afraid to be happy, afraid to be sad, afraid to be married and afraid to be divorced, afraid to have children, afraid not to have children, afraid to gain weight, afraid to lose weight, afraid to be successful. A lot of fears that I get with my clients, they're afraid of fear of failure and success. They're afraid to fail and they're afraid to succeed. Can you see how that can keep you stuck in a holding place and keep you from
Mm-hmm.
moving forward? The illusion can keep you from moving forward. It has a lot of tricks and gimmicks up its sleeve, but we are aware as attractive thinkers of fear-based tricks and tactics. And we do our best to apply these attractive thinker tools so we can overcome these fear-based tactics. Fear has to be conquered in order for you to guard your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be bold to guard your happiness. So, Tishet, this is what I want to close us out with. Responses. I want you, because we're working on practical application right now, I want you to give me some scenarios so that I can give the attractive thinkers some practical responses that are suitable and favorable for them guarding and keeping and holding on to their happiness. So you say, I have to go throughout my life, Dr. Toni. How do I hold on to my happiness? So give me some scenarios of life, Tishet, that are going to come up, that attractive thinkers and visual encouragers are going to experience, so that I can show them how to respond. Let's see if we can come up with some responses that will support you in holding on to your happiness and guarding it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So scenario one, um, you have a person who desires to make more money. They go out and they interview for a new job. The new job has benefits and things that they desire, right? While they're waiting for the response from that interview to say whether or not they got the job, um, something happens in their home life that
Mm-hmm.
causes them to have to move,
Mm-hmm.
meaning they now have to move into a different place. They didn't get the job yet, but they
Mm-hmm.
now have to move into a different home in the midst of transitioning to whether or not they get ready to transition to a new job. So they both have, okay, I need to find a home, and did I get this job on your mind? What's the response?
Mm-hmm. That's good. So let me share with the attractive thinkers and visual encouragers what holding on to your happiness looks like in this scenario. Because sometimes, to share, people think, because you decide to be, your decision to be happy means you're happy all the time, and it shows. You're just walking around with this big smile on your face. You're just a happy person. Let's make this practical, okay? So you apply for a job, you haven't heard a response yet, and now all of a sudden you have to move. That can be frustrating. It can arrest your energy and cause you to lose your peace, lose your sleep, or whatever, disrupt your routine, the whole 9 yards. Now you're going to respond to that. You'll be disappointed. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. I'm waiting for a response from this job, which would bring me more money. And now I have to move and I need money to move. And I didn't anticipate this. I just wanted, to get acclimated to this new job and get my footing and put some things in order in place before I moved. But now I have to move before all of that takes place. So you're going to be frustrated a little bit, disappointed. And you may feel some things. You may say some things. You may do some things like stop working on your goals. You may lose courage. A whole lot. There's a whole lot that can happen in the midst of that frustration. You may just take a break from it all and just walk away, go out on the front porch and just say, whatever, whatever. Or you may eat some things that you wouldn't normally eat because you've been watching your weight and managing your health and things like that. And you may fall back a little bit. So that's a part of the process too. You can't beat yourself up about that. The happy part, holding on to your happiness, is after you get through all of that and you ate the cake and the ice cream, and you think for an attractive thinker moment, and you remember who you are, you say, you know what? I did ask for this job, and me moving is positioning me for what I asked for. That's a whole different, that's an empowering perspective. You want perspective you want perspectives that are going to support you with what you want to do with your life. You don't need perspectives that hold you back and make you feel like the bad guy, make you feel worse, make you feel less than who you are. So that perspective right there, after you get through those scenarios, you ate the cake and the ice cream and you remember who you were, um, you say, oh, I decided to be happy. Oh, right, right. Oh, I forgot, I decided to be happy. Then you sit with it until your energy rises again. You got to shift. It's like the shift in the gear in the car. You got to shift to a whole nother level in order to get through this, because you can get through it, but you got to shift inside and get back in your happy place so that you can handle this transition. That's what happy looks like in a scenario like that. What's your next scenario, Tisha?
Absolutely. Let's just take a person. I was going to say a woman, but it could be a woman or a man. A person desires love. Um, they have been rejected their entire life. Um, they were given up for adoption. They were in the adoption, not the adoption agency, but the foster care system. They grew up in the system. They have had parents who some cared, some didn't, but they tend to find themselves back in the system up until the age of 18, right? And so this person has been desiring love almost all their life. It's something that they wanted to do. While this person said, well, I'm going to find love. So they finally find a relationship with the person. And when they find a relationship with the person love the person acts as if they love them. They're giving them the things that require love, but they're abusive. How would you respond to that when you desire to be happy and you're in a toxic relationship after having a past like that?
So you mentioned desiring to be loved. Um, that desire to be loved is like the scenario we created earlier in this message about seeking external, basing your happiness on external things. The desire to be loved comes from the outside. That means from something or someone else. Loved, that means by something other than you. Now, when you said that, the desire to be loved, you also mentioned rejection. And when you said rejection, I saw contrast,
Mm-hmm.
because rejection could be the contrast of you discovering how to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When you've been rejected enough, you get down to the core of who you are, you understand and you make the decision that I am lovable. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
And me being lovable is not based on how people treat me. Just because somebody treats you mean and nasty or rejects you doesn't mean that you're mean and nasty and a reject. It
Mm-hmm.
does not mean that. They have their own set of conditions going on that have nothing to do with you. Sometimes you find yourself in life, you may say, well, what did I do? I didn't even do anything. Or I did the best that I could. I did this, I did that, the other, I did the other, and the thing still blew up in my face. That means it had nothing to do with you. But if you are attacked, if you have defined your happiness based on happenings, then it's going to rob you of your happiness and you're going to self-identify with it. That's who I am. I'm a reject and I'm not lovable. So you have to have the correct perception of yourself. The desire to be loved, a lot of times, to shed, is our desire for people to give us what we're not giving ourselves.
Absolutely.
The desire to be loved. Why would I be hungry for and ravaging after someone to treat me in a way that I haven't even given myself an opportunity to treat myself that way?
Mm-hmm.
That's an internal issue. It has nothing to do with whether people love or do not love you.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to, again, life is shifting your focus and your attention on you loving you. Nobody, let me tell you something. Plenty of people around the world have experienced true love, but nobody can love you like you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody in the world, because they don't know how you feel. They don't know your every move and your every thought and your every emotion, your tastes and how you like it. Nobody knows all of that about you. Even if you told them the deepest parts about you, you're too detailed. You're too fascinatingly made. I know I've just made up a word, but you're too fantastic and amazing for that, and you're an endless being. It's enough to get to know myself like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible for me to know somebody else like that. I could give it my best shot, but nobody can love me better than me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to try and put that responsibility on somebody else. You got to do your own work and do your own loving. Do
Yes.
your own loving. Treat your own self. Buy for
Mm-hmm.
your own self. Take care of
Mm-hmm.
nurture. I sat in that recliner last night and I had my massager on and I was going up and down my legs and my feet. I ain't asked nobody to rub my feet. I was rubbing my own feet because nobody know where
Mm-hmm.
them spots are but me.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody know how I like it but me.
Mm-hmm.
It's about your own loving, getting into your own loving, loving yourself the way you desire to be loved. And do you know in doing that, you begin to attract things that love you like that?
Yep.
Woo-wee! You begin to attract things that know how you like it. Come on, attractive thinker.
Very true.
That's the scenario for the happiness. If you're desiring to be loved, remember I said happiness was a state of being. Do you love
Mm-hmm.
yourself? Do you are is that your being? Because if it's a state of being and you already love yourself, you don't have to worry about hunting down nobody, tracking down nobody to love you, because you will attract them because you started out, like you said, Tichet, you built the foundation and you started loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have another scenario or not, but
You know I do.
all right,
You know I do.
let's
Okay,
come on with
last
it.
scenario, I got it. Okay, so we have a person. I hope you guys are enjoying this. We have a person, male or female again. This person has a good job, a good paying job, right? The job is very demanding. Okay. The job takes up a lot of their time, so they don't have a lot of quality time to themselves, right? The job is very high paying, so it's not as easy for them to say, up, I want to go. So it's very admirable. It's a job that is very admirable, right?
Mhm,
Very high paying, very demanding. But this person has a new idea, a new vision of a business that they would like to do. But that business idea they will have to start from scratch. And so they don't already have the income that's coming from that. This is something new to them, but the job that they have doesn't allow them the time to build that vision, right? So the job that they have is good, but it's not, it doesn't light up their life. It's good paying, it's rewarding in the financial way, but not necessarily rewarding spiritually. And so the new idea is rewarding spiritually, but it's not necessarily an instant reward for financially,
mhm,
right? How does a person shift? That person shift from the lifestyle that this good job and the thing that they can do easily to explore something that they never explored before, but they have the vision and they just know it's something delicious and good
mhm.
that they will do. They feel like it's their purpose. How do they maintain their happiness in the shift of that?
So in a case like that, one of the first things that comes to mind is they're being controlled by money. Money is making the decisions as to whether you follow your dream or not. And we all have been
Yes.
there. We all have been there in one way or another. And I just hate that. When that happens, when I see that I really want something, or I want to invest in my business, I want to do this or that and the other, and the money doesn't reflect that decision, I find a way because I'm determined that money is not going to dictate the quality of life that I get to experience this one time around. We go
Mm-hmm.
around this thing one time. So if it's something that you really want, you will find a way. You will make a way.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the deal. You and okay, you're in a high paying job, is making the money that you want to make, but it's not fulfilling. It's doing the external thing, but it's not doing the internal thing. It's touching you
Mm-hmm.
externally, but it's leaving you
Yes.
void internally. And
Yes.
you have to see yourself as valuable. You have to see yourself as the thing because you're the best thing that has ever happened to you in this life.
Come
And you
on.
have to see yourself that way. When you see yourself that way, there is nothing that's not good and that's too good for you to have it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's tugging at your spirit and at your soul, then you are responsible for feeding that hunger. If your
Mm-hmm.
spirit is asking for something for more, is leading you in a more fulfilling direction. When I say energy is everything, how you feel, get your copy of this attractive thinker experience. How you feel matters. Turn to page 446. I wrote a section on it. How you feel matters. You need to understand that how you feel is everything. Nothing takes a second seat to how you feel. So you have to find a way. I'm not saying leave that job, but we are creative beings, to shed. If we want something bad enough, we will find a way to weave it into our already scheduled lives.
Mm-hmm.
And you weave it in so much that what you're building is bigger than what you're experiencing on this job. And then your creation is able to sustain you and you can let the job go. You find
Mm-hmm.
a way to let the job go. So you build it, you create enough money in your idea, whereas that money on your job is there's a muzzle on its mouth. It can no longer control and dictate what you do with your life. So about the happiness piece about that, don't get frustrated and say, well, this job is paying the bills and but it's not fulfilling me on the inside. And I got this business idea and I know I got to start from scratch. It looks like it's gonna be a long road. What if it's not? What if it's not? What if when you make the decision to bring that into your life and make the decision that you matter, make the decision that your heart matters, make the decision that if you got the idea, then it matters. If it came out of your heart and your spirit, then it matters and it's worth something. It's everything. Once you make that decision, you open up a road for possibilities for provision to come to you. Because where there is a vision, there is also provision for the vision. You don't have to come up with the vision and the provision. Visions
Mm-hmm.
come with provision, last I checked. Visions come with provision and support and help and ideas and a team and creativity and open doors, those unexpected open doors. But it
Mm-hmm.
starts with a decision, and you don't have to pay any money for it. And you hold on to your habits. Don't get frustrated and say, well, I'm caught between a rock and a hard place. Get happy about that because, like Tashet said, that outlook going forward, you're going to create something that's going to release you from that job so that you can live from the inside out. Tashet, give us some lasting closing comments. This was a fantastic and amazing message for the attractive thinker generation today and all of the visual encouragers around the world. Talk to us, Tashet. This was
Yes, living from the inside out is something we have to shift to do. Instead of building life externally, we build life internally. It doesn't mean that you ignore external. It just means the internal is at the forefront and you're building inside out versus outside in. When you build life inside out, the reward of it all is sustainable, the reward of it all, it's consistent. And you begin to see yourself in a light that you've never seen before. You begin to see how your all your surroundings end up molding into a reflection of you. And that's what we want. We want a life that mirrors who we are on the inside, and not keep settling for what somebody else said, or somebody else said we had to do or be. Not molding our life to fit into a box, which I always say is the perimeters of the standard way of living, right? When we allow ourselves to live from the inside out, and we get to see what's really on the inside and shape it to a way that is pleasant, and we live out our purpose and see us operate in power, the reward is over and over and over again. It's always there, right? And so nothing will knock you off your feet, and so you end up seeing your life all the way through to the vision of you being happy, whole, healthy, and it's sustainable. If any of you need some powerful words, or you need a new outlook in life, I want you to go to my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We're providing mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers, for all of you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness, so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you, so that you can live a life of fulfillment beyond the break. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers, like Tashet said earlier, happiness is not a result of life's circumstances, but your life circumstances are definitely dependent upon your happiness, your level of happiness. I want you to think about this message that you heard today. Post your comments below because we definitely want to hear how happy you are. If you've made the decision to be happy while you're listening to this message, I want you to comment below. I decide to be happy. Today, I decide to be happy. Post it in the comments below. Click the like button for the video. Share this message because there are a lot of people in the world that need to hear it. If it was a blessing to you, it will definitely be a blessing to others. Visit our website at theattractivethinker.guru. We have a lot of resources there for new and aspiring entrepreneurs, people in change or transformation, or just want to think a better thought. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist. I want you to think about this. It is not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively. We'll see you soon.